Contour drawing is hands down my favorite way to draw. It's often overlooked as just a practice, but contour drawing really trains your hand to draw exactly what you see, and it's such great life drawing practice. The rules of contour drawing are simple. You look at the object you're drawing itself and not your drawing. You keep your pen down the whole time, no erasing and no lifting your pen to create one continuous line, and you pay attention to the lines and outer edges of the object that you are drawing. The great thing about contour drawing is you really never know what you're going to get. My husband is also an art teacher, and here are 3 contours I did of him during a snow day. My second one is my favorite because it shows him drawing me while I'm drawing him. And the third one, I stopped and didn't give him any hair, which I know he didn't appreciate, but I just really love the simplicity of the profile view. I live in a different state from my entire family, so here on the left is my sister with her hoop earrings and my grandmom on the right. This is a compilation of all of my family pets, and I don't get to see everyone but every few months. And so drawing them while we're visiting is just a great way to kind of channel not only my energy, but also, those relationships. I also love contour drawing in art museums. Here are 2 sketchbook pages I did while at the Kimball Museum in Fort Worth, Texas. And I believe it just makes me slow down, really look at the work of art. Instead of just staring at it, I have like an action that helps me understand the composition and just makes me linger longer in front of each work of art. Here are 2 of the most maybe important drawings I've ever done in my life. When my dad was in the hospital and I was visiting and keeping him company, and instead of just sitting there and staring, I had my sketchbook with me, of course, and I just sketched him while he was there. I didn't even look at these drawings until a few weeks later, and one I did on top of a coffee stain effect I had in my sketchbook, and the other I added watercolor to later. These drawings are so important to me because it really captures the energy of a moment and of a person. And these aren't moments you would take a picture of and frame, but I think that's what creating art is all about. It's understanding humanity and the non-perfect moments that make up who we are as people and who we are, as humans. Artists like Picasso are famous for doing contour style drawings, and I'm going to teach you how to do 3 different types today. If it's good enough for Picasso, it's good enough for us. Blind contours are my favorite. And as the name implies, you're drawing blind. Not that your eyes are closed, but you are looking at the subject 100%. You are not looking down at your paper. My students totally freak out because check out what I just drew. It's unpredictable, it's not perfect, and it is not going to represent exactly what you're looking at, and that's the point. I always warm up with blind contours before I start any major drawing. Not only are you not looking at your paper while you're drawing, you're not picking up your pen. So this is such a cool technique because it's the history of your drawing. There's no picking it up and starting over. There's no erasing. It is a trail. It is like the history of your drawing. Look what I just did to my eyes there. So these are quick, 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And I'm staring at myself in a mirror right now. And I'll go ahead and be honest, it's way more fun to draw someone else. Advice, if you're drawing a classmate, a friend, a family member, tell them not to stare at you, but to look at the floor or to look at something in the room so it's not uncomfortable. It will be funny when you're finished because these are just quirky, unusual drawings that look like the person maybe, but are totally random in how it actually turns out. I think it's important to remember not every drawing you do is for the purpose of hanging up in your mom's living room. Practice, hand-eye coordination, quick studies are so important to the development of you as an artist, and embrace the weirdness. Not everything has to be picture perfect. Modified contours are like blind contours, but you get to look down maybe 10% of the time. It's still one continuous line. You're still looking at the subject matter 90% of the time, but you can take a glance to check your work at certain important steps. Like I'm doing the inside of my face right now, and I might look to make sure that I'm not drawing it on the right side of my hair, but it's in the space that I created. Keep in mind, these are quick. You might go a little bit slower since you will be stopping and checking your work. But remember, 10% of the time, You're not trying to make a perfect portrait of someone. You're still practicing your hand-eye coordination. And the whole point is to look at what you see and not draw what you think a nose is. Just like with any contour, it's a continuous line focused on outlines, edges of objects, not shading, continuous lines. Because I'm drawing myself, all of my drawings have this angry side-eye effect. I did try to smile on that last one, but didn't really come across, which is okay. It's not like I'm smiling every moment of my life. Finally, contour drawing is what we just did, except you can look down at your paper a little bit more. It is still one continuous line. You don't pick up your pen, but if you do, you just put it right back down. You're focusing on edges, outlines of shapes and objects without the finer details present. I always go slower since I am checking my work maybe 20% of the time, and I'm still looking at myself in the mirror way more than I'm looking at what I'm drawing. And the point is, once you've practiced your blind contours and your modified contours, you're going to be much more comfortable and used to this. I do slow down when I'm drawing my eye, drawing my nose, and what I'm doing is looking at placement. So when I go down to my nose, I want to look and make sure I'm drawing it and stopping at the right point. Again, contour drawing is not about perfection. My nose is going to be the wrong shape. I'm going to look like I have a giant forehead. And all of this is just part of the process of learning how to draw what you see with one continuous line. I'm using a really thick pen, but you could do this technique with a ballpoint pen, a marker, an oil pastel. Just make sure your surface is big enough that you can capture some of those smaller details. You could totally do this with Crayola markers, crayons, or even like black paint and a paintbrush. So this technique can be done anywhere with any material. I have done this in meetings. I've done this on airplanes. You've already seen all of my family drawings. If you do this in a public place, just make sure if someone notices, they're definitely going to be curious about what you're doing. But this is a technique that you can do with anything and anywhere. You're watching me draw this in real time. A lot of times my tutorials are sped up a little bit because, attention spans of my students. But I wanted you to see exactly how fast and slow I draw. And so this video is completely real time. I didn't speed or slow down anything. So I have this marbled paper I made. Check out the link above on how to make marbled paper. And I knew I wanted to do some contour drawing on top of it. I have done this in the classroom with excellent results, and I'll show those at the end of the video. It's a little scarier when you're doing it on fancier paper. If it's in a sketchbook, it's like, whatever, it's just a sketch. But on your fancier paper, I definitely feel, and my students feel, the need to slow down and make it perfect. Remember, that's not the point. The thing with contour drawing is if it looks weird, you can always blame it like, oh, well, I wasn't really looking. And if it looks amazing, you can brag and be like, oh, I did this and I wasn't even looking. So contour drawing gives you a little bit of grace because you have an excuse no matter what. Really love drawing the lines in my hair and my hoodie strings. And I love drawing people that are wearing hats or have like glasses or fun hairstyles. Ponytails, hoop earrings, all that stuff is really fun and just adds a little bit more oomph to your drawing. Story of my life, I should have stopped there, but I wanted to add a little bit more shadow and weight to the right side of my face. So I go back into that side, but I'm going to make my eye look a little too dark, and it gives me this cross-eyed effect. But whatever, this is a fun and quirky drawing, and really it does match the mood I was in when I was drawing it. All right, here's my final product on my marbled paper. I'm happy with it, but I made a bunch of marbled paper, so I'm gonna repeat this again and do another drawing. This time I'm using my watercolor marbled paper, and I'm doing the one that has a really soft color scheme in the background so my line drawing shows up. I'm gonna put that link again so you can click it, and if you wanna make backgrounds for drawing or for so many other things, you can do that. In this one, when I get to my face, so I have my head turned, not full profile view, but slightly like 3/4. And when I get to my face, I am gonna smile. You can see how that does not translate in my drawing, probably because I was so busy concentrating. It's a totally different situation when you're making a video for YouTube for, you know, anyone to watch you do it. I feel the same way when I do demonstrations in my classroom. You know, you have 30 eyeballs on you at all times watching you. Hopefully you're going to make something look amazing or approachable, but sometimes it's stressful. When you see me pick up my pen, most of the time it's because my hands are so shaky and I feel like my mark is getting kind of messed up. So I lift my pen to kind of like stretch it a little bit, stretch my hand, or just like relieve that tension. And I put it right back where it is. All right, there she is, finished contour drawing number 2. Here are some photographs of my students working. So I would set up clipboards and we would have one student model at a time. This is such a fun way to start a semester in art class and for any level. The finished results are always amazing. This student just used a fine and a thin point Sharpie, and you would just take one pose and then have the student change it, or the model would change and you would change the views, but they overlap and relate to each other on their watercolor backgrounds. Contour or continuous line drawings are fantastic learning tools for the classroom at any level. Right now I teach 5th and 6th grade, and I would totally do the same format I did with my high school students. If you're an artist, an art teacher, an art student, or just someone at home looking to learn, don't forget to subscribe. Your support means the world to me. You can also find my full lesson plans, rubrics, student examples, and blog posts at thatartteacher.com.